Dallas Famous podcast is supported by the Mullen & Mullen Music Project. The Music Project was created by Mullen & Mullen Injury Law Firm to champion the independent music scene in North Texas. I'm Andrew Sherman. I'm a Texas transplant who has always been in pursuit of art as a career. I've played in bands, pursued an acting career in Hollywood, but I found it behind the lens of a camera here in Dallas, Texas. I was born in New York, I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, but I love Dallas. There's a magical artistic scene in Dallas that mostly goes unnoticed to the outside world. This podcast is focused on what makes it so special and the people who make it thrive artistically. If you don't live here, and even if you do, you might not have heard of them. This is the Dallas Famous Podcast.
There's a place that I like to go where the sun sets fast and the night moves slow. A frame of mind and a frequency where the rhythm of life rolls naturally.
This week on the Dallas Famous Podcast, we have Kena Sosa, the award-winning children's author, filmmaker, school librarian, and drummer. Kena is a performing member of Goisagi, a Fort Worth-based taiko ensemble known for its original compositions and dynamic performances. Kena has collaborated with musician Ladi and just released their third piece, Odyssey. As a school librarian, she fosters a love for reading among students, balancing her work in literature, education, and music. From the written word to the beat of the drum, Kena's work bridges storytelling, education, and music, making for a fascinating journey. This was a great chat, and I know you'll dig it. Here it is. We are back at the Deep Elm Community Center. I've got Kena Sosa. She is a musician. She's a writer, author. I think there's a distinction there, yes. And a librarian.
Yes.
I'm going to say you're not a mild-mannered librarian with all of that, but welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. And might I add, emerging filmmaker to that list.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
That's right. I
Very
got
proud
to
of
that.
that.
I'm proud of that too, because that's impressive. I was curious actually, because you sent me an email with some of your stuff, and so you wrote and directed some of these shorts, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. I don't think I understood that when I was looking at the email, and then I was watching them, and I'm like, oh, going by, so it's you, right?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. How many short films? How many have you done?
Oh, okay. Well, for writing and directing, I have done four or five. I'm losing count. The last one I did, I chose not to direct because I wanted to see what could be captured with a different team. Because sometimes you wear all of the hats, and then you kind of put your own blindfolds on to certain things.
Sure.
And filmmaking is a team sport. So I thought, why not, switch up the team and see what's different out of this vision. So, and actually I really liked it. It was fascinating, and I learned a lot from working with a variety of crew.
I mean, so is that something that you think you'll do more of, like where you'll step out, or did you miss directing and having that control?
Both, because, I think everyone who starts off in indie has had, amazing, beautiful experiences when you have the right group of people together, and then maybe not so much. And that's kind of my start. And so I became very protective of my sets because everybody who participates puts their heart into it, not just the crew or the writer, but the actors. They're all giving you something to help wrap up this beautiful project together. And so I want to protect that experience so that everyone leaves the set going, I'm glad I was part of that. That was fun,
Sure.
And be proud of the end result. So directing allows me to have a little more say in that. But I also enjoyed taking a step back and just really sitting back and saying, wow, I'm having a great time knowing I'm part of this, but I don't have to sit here and mom people.
Right.
I don't have to be over these decisions. I can trust the people that I'm with. And that's what it comes down to really, is finding a team that you trust so you can let go of some of that control either and know that they also have the project's best interest in mind.
But was there a moment where you're on set and you're like, I want you to do it differently, but okay, it's your set,
Here and there, I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm part of the cohort right now for the Multimedia Arts Project.
No, I did not mention that.
Yeah, it's a filmmaking cohort because I wanted to get some professional level experience in different roles on crew, which normally require you going to film school and investing years and all of these things to hone that craft. But we've been very fortunate to have industry experts come in and, give us hit the ground running techniques, background information, knowledge, and experience. So one of the things we did, we shot some spec scripts, which are just small little commercials. One that I wrote was Chosen, which is I just had the best time with it. It's an app I made up, so it doesn't even exist. It's called the Bullshit App, and it's a live streamed lie detector basically. And I wrote a fake seance, and I just had so much fun being ridiculous with that within 15 seconds. And there was, I chose not to direct that too because I wanted to experience lighting and I wanted to experience sound. And the only way I'm going to get to do those things is if I step back. And one of the actors was giving the line in a way that just, if I were directing, I was like, ooh, that doesn't feel natural to me. And I just had to step back and say, but right now, I am assisting the lighting department,
Yes.
and this is where I need to stay and relinquish that control and trust to my team. And I have to say that's a wise decision because it's great. And whenever we're done with it and it's out there in the world, I'm just going to sit back and laugh because, hey, they actually trusted me to do this ridiculous thing, and it's entertaining and it's fun, and I'm happy about that.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, a good set is a really strict hierarchy, and if everybody can follow that, it runs very smoothly.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. People have been doing this for a long time, but that's cool. So cohort, so it's like a group of you get together. I don't quite understand like the group that you're talking about.
Well, it's an official program. It's run through Pegasus Media Project.
Okay.
And so
Through the city or?
Well, it's a grant funded program.
Okay.
And so we have been in class since September, basically every Saturday. We spend the Saturday together learning, through lecture, through projects, through our own independent practice. And I have to say I'm grateful for that because there's certain things that I never would have even delved into because I'm like, no, I will be terrible at editing.
Sure.
That is a promise. That is a prophecy that was written ages ago. But I had to for this. And even though I would say it's not something I enjoy, I was surprised at what I was able to do because I had somebody pushing me and saying, you're actually not allowed to not do that. I had no more excuses. It was, I was just going to have to.
Yeah.
It is good. It pushes all of us to develop ourselves in ways that on our own we might just kind of shy from and say, no, thanks. And that's kind of what holds you back as a creative is giving yourself that excuse to not try.
It's invaluable too as a director to learn how to edit because I feel like your next shoot, you just see like, oh, well, if we do this is going to go together. That'll be really easy for them to fit or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yes. And that's a really good point because when I was directing, I was working with a DP who actually was the editor as well.
Oh,
and so
that's good.
That really helped us hyper focus what we were doing to where we shot with the edits in mind. And it's a time saver, like just thinking ahead really is the best way to do things.
Oh, yeah.
And then when things come up, you have time to deal with it because you've been thinking ahead.
Well, I feel like all productions, every day you go to work, it's like, we know something will go wrong today. What will we do to get around it? Honestly, it's like, I mean, I worked on crew on like hundreds of shows and TV, and it's like, it was like every day, what's going to go wrong? It's fine. Something will go wrong. How will we get past it?
Yeah, and that's just true everywhere. And I think once you go in with that understanding of something may go wrong, but it's okay. I trust my crew and we'll get through it. And then when I go to other sets and I see that, I'm like, see, look, it's fine. Everything will be fine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I like to go from the beginning, which it's fine that we didn't start there. But like, first of all, you're from San Antonio?
Yes.
Okay.
Originally. I moved up here in 2001, so...
Well, you're skipping way ahead. You started in San Antonio, and like, what made you go, oh, I want to write? Or what was first, writing, directing, like in your head?
Oh, writing. Okay. Writing for sure. That was... well, I think writing and music came along actually at about the same time.
We haven't even mentioned that you play music.
Yeah.
You're very not mild-mannered librarian, I have to say.
That's a good thing, though.
It's a great
supposed
thing.
To be open learning,
no,
curiosity.
You break the stereotype like so many times over. It's great.
Yes, keep doing it. Let's bring some noise to the library.
Yeah.
So yeah, around 14, that was when I joined band at school, and I really don't know why. I can't whistle. Maybe that's why. And I told myself I couldn't play other instruments, so I tried out for a drumline. and they took me for whatever reason. So yay, go me. Uh, and I'm so grateful because that whim, I think my whims have gotten me through life more than anything else. That whim really has been something that's kept me going in the worst times of my life because I had something I didn't want to lose. I had people I didn't want to lose that were tied to music and those experiences, and music brought me most of my friends today. So I started out that way. So I had 1 year of experience when I ended up in high school drumline, and I just said, I'm going to show these boys what's up. And so by junior year, I was first chair, and it was my drumline. And I'm
Wow.
very proud of that because that was really a lot for me to overcome. I had that 2 year learning gap that everybody else had, but I'm that person when you tell me I can't do it, then that is my motivation to do it.
Yeah.
Which luckily wasn't my only motivation, but it was a big one in this way. So, I started with music. I had that. And so anything going on in life, I could just go back to my room and focus inward on that. Ironically, one time I got grounded. That is the genesis of my writing.
You got grounded from writing?
No, I got grounded in general. The one time I goofed.
Okay.
I was a pretty good kid. I was straight A's, but like the one time I really goofed bad, I was grounded the whole summer.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Like, come on, I was a pretty good kid. I could have
It's not
gotten
pretty hard. I mean,
one free
Mom,
pass.
come on.
But well, I'm grateful for that though. That was the thing is I got so bored. No phone, no TV. There was no internet then, which don't ask. No phone, no TV, and I was just I was death bored. And there was a typewriter laying around. And so, back in the day, the CDs, they had all the lyrics to the songs in them. And so I just sat there typing. And then I was so tired of that even that I just started typing nonsense. And the next thing you know, I was writing poetry for the first time. And that isolation just, I had nothing else to do but break my own spirit of controlling my thoughts and just let them flow. And that was honestly the beginning of it. So by the time I was not grounded, I had this new thing I was passionate about. And being a quiet person, I became a librarian. I'm not going to be loud and in anyone's face. I think words are more powerful than that. And words on a page are very powerful. Words, sent in a message are powerful. Words written in a script are powerful. And that was what I learned is I could have this power without having to be loud and aggressive and make my point or change a mind or just tell a really ridiculous, fun story. And that was the beginning. By college, I took a class on children's literature, and that just was inspiring to me because it's so open and crazy and out there and, chickens going to the moon and all the nonsense that we don't enjoy as adults. I find joy in because, sometimes you have to be just silly. Sometimes you have to just take joy in something. And that was when I kind of branched into children's literature, but I still wrote articles and essays, and I wanted to be someone who had a voice that would go in different directions and not just be pigeonholed in this linear, predictive way, because that kind of stifles your creativity.
Sure. So I'm trying to concentrate on this quiet person who's not going to be in your face is the drum line leader. Like there's nothing fidgety about, like you do not read drummer to me in any way, like looking at you being in the room with you. It's so funny to me that you are, you're still the drummer. You still play in, what's the name of your group? I'm sorry.
Goisagi.
Yeah, I knew it. I just couldn't pronounce it. And that's that's like
taiko.
Taiko, right. Okay.
Yes, so they're the big barrel-shaped drums from Japan originally. I've been with Goisagi, we co-founded that group, I want to say almost 10 years ago at this point, out of Fort Worth. We played previously in a different Dallas-based group. But yeah, that's one of the reasons I really, really love taiko is it's dynamic, it's creative, there's movement and choreography built into the pieces, but it's really loud. And honestly, at this point, it's my therapy. I can tell if I haven't been to practice for a while because I'm grouchy. So, hit drums, not people. It's a great mantra to live
That's
by.
a t-shirt right there.
But yeah, I feel very powerful after playing and performing, and I don't have to be loud myself. I don't have to be big and intimidating. I can still be me and show you my power through the instrument. And that's something I really just embrace about drumming.
That's interesting. I like that. Okay, so now let's jump back to how did you get to Dallas?
Okay, well, I moved here in 2001. I was living in Mexico City at the time.
Oh, wow.
And
You've lived in a lot of interesting places, yes?
well, mostly San Antonio and the Hill Country area growing
Okay.
up, but I was an exchange student in college and it just, we never traveled when I was a kid. So it took me outside of the entire world I knew and just showed me the world is so, you can't even wrap your mind around how big this small planet is until you get out in it. And it just lit a fire in me. So I went back after that year and I wanted to get back out. So I found what was supposed to be a 3-month job in Mexico City and just got on a bus and I went, which looking back in hindsight, I'm like, wow, that was really not the most intelligent decision. Pretty risky just because I didn't really know what I was getting into. I hadn't really researched the company or anything. So it was definitely a bit tumultuous. I stayed a year, and then at the point of the year, my student loan payments were calling, and I thought, I need to go home and be responsible and start this life that I set out to start. So I had a hard time finding a job in San Antonio right away, and hey, Dallas was calling. So that's how I ended up here. Another whim.
What were you in school for?
My degree is in English, my bachelor's, since I have a master's now in bilingual education. But at the time, it was my English degree, also a whim because I loved reading and writing.
So did you think you were going to be a writer at that point? Was that your goal?
No, I didn't have much guidance. Like I said, I think the whims have taken me through life on this little current and
A whimsical
yes,
drumming librarian.
yes.
I'm going to, for the end, we're going to have like a whole long, your whole introduction.
So basically the guidance counselor just asked me, what do you want to study? And I said, I don't know. That's why I'm here. And they said, well, what do you like to do? And I said, read and then stamp. You're an English major. And looking back now, knowing what I know now, I would have chosen probably archaeology. I just think that's fascinating, and you can travel with it and you discover things. You can find secrets from long ago and you dig in dirt, and it's like all of this adventurous stuff wrapped up into one career. But I didn't know that. So now I can indulge in something like that for fun. But but this is the life, and this is where life took me, and I'm happy about that.
Right. And so you come to Dallas, and what did you start doing for work? What did you find?
I worked in education.
Oh, right away. Okay.
Yep, right away. Tested the waters a bit as a teacher. There are many hilarious, weird, crazy stories from that, heartwarming ones as well. But I got to the point after about 6-7 years where I just thought, wow, this is a lot. It's hearts out to all the teachers out there. It is not the easiest of jobs.
Yeah, we're teachers.
Yeah, it's one that you really have to lead with your heart on and be dedicated to. And I wasn't quite sure at that point. Just, I always have to be learning, growing, doing, changing, that I would be able to last 40 years in that position. Mm-hmm. And so the district was actually looking to train librarians. They were having people stay and retire out of that job and not a lot of new blood coming in. And I thought, well, why not? And there you go. And I'm, again, grateful for that little whim, because I feel like the library is a place where you can expand and change and do things your own way and really embrace that creativity, because there aren't as many limits imposed on you as there are in the classroom.
Right.
And it's also a safe space for curiosity of all types. It's a place where kids have choice, and they don't have a choice in a lot of other things. So it provides a lot of what fits my personality that I can also share with them.
Right. Maybe a little bit of a strange time for freedom of reading books,
Very
I guess.
much,
But
yes.
that's another podcast, probably. And so now you're a librarian in Dallas. At what point did you like like the music was calling you, or were you going to see bands? Like, what was that part of the picture?
Well, music has never left me. I mean, I've been playing music this whole time on
Okay.
my own. But the way I do it has changed in recent years. I mean, I've played taiko, like I said, since I moved here. That was the beginning of that. But I still played the kit on my own. I mean, I had a little cover band for a while. I shouldn't say little. I don't know why I said that. But I had a cover band for a while. That was really fun, but short lived. And, that helped me branch out in a new way that I hadn't done before. I play cajon with some flamenco artists here
Oh.
locally.
Hmm.
I just want to keep growing and changing. And fortunately for me, percussion is the most wild and out there expansive music family you can have. I still discover instruments that I've never heard of before all these years later. And I was endorsed by Creative Percussion, and they create their own instruments too. So it's like there's never an end. I can stick with this because there's always going to be something for me to discover. So, in talking with my bandmate, Sean Ibanez, who himself is with Creative Percussion, and he's a powerhouse of percussion. He's amazing. He builds the drums for our group by hand. So many talents.
Wow.
And one of the things he said struck me is, he can work with us, teach us technique and all of that, but he can't make us artists. That's something we have to do ourselves. And I thought, yes, he's right. I do need to branch out beyond my group and have different experiences that develop me. And those experiences I can bring into the group, but they're going to develop me. So I was invited to collaborate on a piece by Ladi. He's a wonderful musician. He's part of Igimeji. He plays all over DFW area. But he wanted to do a song that had taiko there in the background and invited me to work with him on that. It was a couple years ago. So that was brand new to me because I like to go into things super prepared and, okay, I studied, that little nerd is still in me. I studied. I know what to bring to the table. I know what to expect. And that is not how he plays or creates a song. It's the opposite. It's let's come in, let's play together. Let's see what comes out of this and let's develop that. Let's, make the soup here together and see what we do with it. Which, my anxiety was up.
Yeah.
It was up. I was so nervous. I probably didn't play to the best of my abilities at that point because I was nervous, but he broke me of that need to know what to expect, which was great because we just released our third single, March 4th. It's very recently called Odyssey. And I have to say I can really see how we've developed in these collaborations together because this one we brought in so many different things that, before we were kind of learning how to make this work and what worked together with my style of drumming and, his skills. And so this time we brought in like some synth. We brought in, he told me bring auxiliary percussion and I said, okay, be ready. So I brought the sonic disc, which is a really weird, fun thing to mess with. That's at the beginning of that song. It's called an frikiwa. It's an African castanet made of metal, and you just make this clinky sound with it.
Huh.
My rain stick. I mean, I just brought a whole bunch of toys, we'll call them,
Fun.
that we put into the song, and it's just very different. It goes in the progression of what we're developing because we want to finish this up and create an EP to release all together. But I think this one you can really tell like we're fully in the journey.
Right.
It's a really fascinating piece, and it is streaming now. Odyssey by Ladi featuring Kena. So definitely check that one out. And we are definitely going to keep going with that.
Okay, well, let's get into children's books.
Ah, yay.
Yeah. So, Unhuggables, that was one that you won awards for, is that right?
Yes, that won the Enchanted Page Award in 2019.
Mm.
It's probably the one that is most well known and the easiest for people to embrace, ironically, because it is a book about a little boy who doesn't want to hug.
Hmm.
And that's really the storyline is he's having a moment, and I think we've all had a moment where it's like, I know you love me and I know you want to help, but I really don't want to hug right now.
Yes.
Let me just feel what I'm feeling. And so he's having that, and even though his mom wants to hug him, he's not, he's turning himself and his emotions into these unhuggable animals that you see throughout the story. The illustrator Alexis Brode, she masterful. Like she actually created these layouts where you can see it in action branch from one page to the next. And, you're following along and you might think, well, that he's kind of being mean to his mom. But really, he's just being honest about his feelings until he's ready for the hug. And at that point, that makes it so much better.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Wow. How many kids books do you have?
I have 3 currently. I would love to do more. I have one about the San Antonio Fiesta because that's where I'm from. So it's just something that I felt inspired to showcase being from my hometown. One called The Kinder Transport, A Child's Journey. That one I went to the University of Connecticut on fellowship, and I was able to interview and create oral histories documenting some of the people's experiences as children on these trains escaping Germany, who were then placed in foster homes throughout the war in the UK. So it is a children's book. I know that sounds horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
It is not, I promise, because I write with the child in mind and what. So in interviewing, I took the details that a child would notice, like the smell of this bread that they've never had before. It was a different kind of bread, or what they heard and how they interpreted that as children. And that's really how the experience is told.
Wow.
And again, it was a little hard to get someone to give it a chance publishing wise because, wow, what a horrible subject for a children's book. But it's not, because any kid can identify with that feeling of abandonment even for a few seconds. Because, and I told someone this once, like the first time you were dropped off at either daycare or school, that very first time where you weren't sure your parent was coming back for you, because having been a kindergarten teacher, the terror is real. First day of school, because they really are thinking, they're not coming back for me.
Wow.
And you have, crying and the panic and everything. So I think any kid can identify with that for the first time of, oh, I remember that feeling. And fortunately, that's, it was a happy ending for me, but like, I get that.
Huh.
And that's kind of what I went with. So it's like, what did Hemingway, I think it was Hemingway, said, correct me if I'm wrong on that, people, but when you have a big subject to write about, you don't write big, you write small. You write about the child's abandoned shoes on the battleground. You don't write about the horrors of war itself, because that image alone provokes an entire array of images. You get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what I was trying to do. So yeah, that one actually won a Children's Literary Classic Award too the year before. So I guess that would be 2018. But yeah, it's different, but I like to switch it up and try new things, and I'm proud of each of them in their own way.
Right. So any books that aren't children's books?
Well, I was ghostwriting for a while, but can't talk about it. So, I mean, I've been part of some projects that I'm also proud of in that way, but you don't talk about it when you're a ghostwriter. It's like Fight Club. But outside of that, I wrote a lot of articles for a while. I was writing travel pieces. I was freelancing for a company who wrote articles for military veterans, like base guides and where they could find discounts based on their veteran status, or how to get into college with the GI Bill, things like that. But then more recently, I'm very, very happy about this because it combines so many of my loves. But I just had a piece out in Fort Worth Weekly
Yes.
about last week, I think it was.
Uh-huh.
So super fresh glow for that. And it highlights somebody and a program that I'm also super excited about and proud of because it, again, combines a lot of my favorite things. So it's a post in honor of Women's History Month that talks about our wonderful music librarian out of Fort Worth named Rita Alfaro, who has spearheaded the Amplify 817 program.
Okay, yeah.
And that program, of course, has licensed the EP that Goisagi did back in 2022. So we are part of the Amplify roster. And
Can you tell everybody else what that is? Because I don't think people know.
yeah, Amplify 817 is run through the Fort Worth Public Library. And basically, there's an audition process or a submission process twice a year for local artists to Fort Worth to submit their EPs. And those EPs, then there's a panel who I actually am on the panel this round still. And we go through. So we're looking for localness, like how much do you participate in the music community, originality, quality of the music. And then the ones who are selected are invited to join Amplify 817 as a program, which means basically the library licenses your EP. And so, there's a payment involved, but they license your EP to where anyone who's using the public library, of course, can stream your music. And that may not sound like a big deal, but that really does make your music accessible to everyone and can really further your career, what you get invited to play to. I mean, just get your name out there while still honoring that you should be paid for your work. They also make it a point to do showcases every year where they invite a lot of the Amplify artists to take part of. They really try to help promote us as much as they can. And that's a really revolutionary project for a public library.
Yes, it is. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So totally caught my attention, of course.
Yeah.
And then, I have the utmost respect for things like that. So you're using, the resources and the reach of the library to help musicians. So perfect.
So it's funny because I had somebody that wrote a book on yesterday, but they're not an author previously. So you being someone that's been a writer pretty much the whole time here, like, is there a literary scene here in Dallas? Is there like a community? Is it just, are you on an island? How does that go?
That's a very interesting question because I think being a writer, and you said something earlier about distinguishing between being a writer and an author. Writing can be, it's not a team sport in a lot of ways. Like it requires isolation and concentration. So the act of writing itself, even if you go to a coffee shop and you set up and you're working there, is still isolating. There's noise, there's life around you, which is good because we need that. But you're still zoned in on what you're doing.
Right. So
it's kind of hard to make that a group effort. Depending on your genre of writing, you can do that a little more because there are critique groups. There's Society of Children's Books Writers and Illustrators here locally, and they do critique groups and workshops and things like that. So for Kid Lit, there definitely is, with organizations like that, there's community. So you can be as active or inactive in it as you wish. In general, as a writer, I don't really know what kind of community there is except for, high-fiving each other and saying like, hey, can we talk about this? Like, let me run an idea off of you. So it's up to you, I think, in my humble opinion, to make those connections and build the community that you want, which should be other writers, but also bring in the people that support you, like local bookstores. Make yourself known there. Tell them, hey, I have this book. Would you mind if I sat here one day and talked to people? Maybe you want a couple copies in your store. Maybe you're just going to allow me to be here and make my presence known or create a little stand. But you kind of have to build that for yourself. And that's very difficult when you're kind of introverted.
Yeah.
Which a lot of writers are.
Absolutely.
Is like in the world we live in now, that's part of the deal. You have to get out there and promote yourself. You're not going to automatically get promoted. Your name is not going to automatically be out there. You have to get out there and be present and put your face in front of people. And you make more connections and more sales that way and more opportunities for other things.
So, What if somebody? I mean, I probably should have started with this. Like, if someone came up to you and said, "What do you do?" What would you say?
That's a hard question for me.
I mean, I guess it depends who it is and where you are, right?
Exactly. Like if it's somebody with, within my day job, of course, I would tell them this is what I do. If you're asking what I do for fun, that's an entirely different story. If you're asking what I'm passionate about, which honestly I think is the best question, because a lot of people work in careers they're not necessarily passionate about, but as adults, we have to pay the bills.
Sure.
And fortunately for me, I can tie mine to things I'm excited about. But if you ask what I do, I would tell you I write. I'm trying to be a good filmmaker. I play music because that's who I am. So I think it really comes from the intent of the person asking.
Right. Also, I remember we chatted. I'm just gonna make a little shout out to the Observer to say, hey, we've got a writer here that's looking to join the team.
Yay.
I'm just doing that as a favor.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, a good writer should be known. It should be. That's why you're on here, actually.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much. Here I come, Observer.
yeah, absolutely. What did I miss? Did I miss anything big? I mean, it seems like we've covered a lot of it.
Oh, we have definitely covered a lot. We talked about the new single, Odyssey.
Are you guys playing? Does the group play live shows still?
No, Goisagi?
Yes.
Goisagi does. We just performed at St. Mark's School about a week ago. We perform every year at the Japanese festivals, both for spring and fall at the Fort Worth Botanical Garden. We are working on a few other things coming up, just finalizing bookings, potentially at the Nasher.
Oh, cool. That's perfect, actually.
Yeah, we have some stuff in the works, but till it's finalized, I'm not sure what to say about that. We are, however, booked to record our second EP in July of this year, so that is in development.
What does that look like, doing a recording session with that drum group? That sounds like a challenge.
That's it. It is. So when you book the studio, you kind of have to tell them this is going to be different.
Where are you doing it?
We will be doing it actually at the Epic in Grand Prairie. They have a recording studio.
I work at the Epic all the time. I've been to that.
You?
I actually did an episode in that studio.
No way.
Yeah. Or no, not like I was in the podcast, but I also shot Tejas Brothers in that studio.
Oh.
So that's wild. How did you land there?
I live in Grand Prairie.
Oh, there's lots of stuff happening in Grand Prairie.
You know what? I am impressed to say there are definitely a lot of things going on in there on the regular.
Yeah.
It's really grown a lot since I moved there.
Yeah.
So
But that's cool. So you're going to do so like, yeah, you called them up and you're like, we are going to book a session. Here's what's going to happen.
Yeah. So I had to make it known that what it's not going to look like is what you see in the movies where one person is recording their part at a time, because it just doesn't work that way with taiko.
Yeah.
We need space. We will be all recording at the same time.
Wait, did you
which
say
is
how many
different.
of you there was? I forget.
Well, one of our members just moved, so we are down to 5.
Okay, I could see 5 drums fitting in that room.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to visualize.
Right. And they're different sizes. I mean, we have the big ones, but each song has a variety of pieces to it. Like some of them have these little cymbals called chapa. Some have an atarigane, which is a little round bell-looking instrument. There's a conch in one of them. I mean, we bring some other things in, and we have definitely played some tight quarters before. But they have to know, we play together. That's the spirit of taiko. I think none of us, if you just put one person there, would play very well, because
Right.
it throws you.
Yeah.
The first time we recorded anything, we recorded at a little rehearsal studio. We had no idea it was going to be that tiny. And because it was our very first time, this was years ago. And it was so tiny that we couldn't do the choreographed movements that we do, which are ingrained in you. It's music memory. So if my
Sure.
arm doesn't swing this way, my brain is saying, you're not playing the song right.
Right.
And you can't swing that way because there's something above you, and then there's a person right behind you. And it really threw us off. And that was when we realized, no, we are not good that way. So when we recorded the EP in 2022, which is called Alight, you can hear it on Amplify 817. But also, please support us and come get copies at a show. We still have them. We actually recorded in my house.
Huh.
So Take that, neighbors. Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, we moved in next to a librarian. What the heck is going on here?
Well, it's payback.
Yeah.
Payback for some of the parties my neighbors throw.
Oh,
But,
there you go.
so one of our members, he actually is a music engineer. So we knew we were going to make use of the resources we have. It's one of the things I love about my group. They all have so many talents I don't have. One of them is an engineer, and so she makes our merch, like leather etching, wood etching, T-shirts. I'm blown away by her skills.
That's cool.
Jay is an engineer, as I said. So he was in charge of recording, mixing all the good stuff afterwards. So we're lucky we had him to rely on in that way. We used my house, so we just basically cleared the whole front area of the house, set up drums in it, and tried to figure out, okay, let's see if this works. Hopefully the acoustics of my house aren't terrible.
Oh, yeah, right. Of course.
Hopefully, the police don't show up, which did not happen that day, but it did happen the last time we filmed in my house.
Oh, man.
That's actually kind of a funny story. But
Well, let's hear it.
well, okay, I'll sum that one up to say we recorded it. It's good. You should check it out. It's called Alight.
Okay.
And it comes from our humble beginnings, and it's a great, great EP. So the last film that I shot, again, I chose not to direct. So we had this new team. It's called Cry Hard. I'm currently running it through festivals as much as I can right now. So basically we had a lot of in and out, right? So we had people bringing lighting outside in my backyard to shine into windows to create, day, night, all that good stuff. And they accidentally knocked a tiny, tiny little panel off my alarm. I didn't set the alarm because I knew we'd be in and out. That's silly. So I had my phone on silent because, of course, the last thing you want recording a scene and it's going well is somebody's phone going off. But again, my alarm wasn't set. So at the end of the day, everybody's packing up. They're taking equipment back out to their vehicles. And one comes back in and tells me that there is an officer in my yard. And I said, oh. And so I thought for a second, maybe one of my neighbors thought that I was being robbed because they're taking stuff out of the house. This would be easy to clear up, right? But, again, they're used to me filming at my house too. So I've literally had a neighbor tell me I was going to call because I thought something was wrong, but then I thought you were probably filming, so it was okay. And I'm like, you were right. Thank you for that. So I go outside and, I was asked if it was my house. Yes. And so your name is on it? Yes. Well, we had a call from your alarm company. And I said, that's funny because we didn't set the alarm. Why would they call you? And I looked at my phone and sure enough, I had a missed call, which I couldn't figure out because the alarm wasn't set. But apparently, this was news to me, if the little protective pad is off, then it alerts them that there's been tampering, even if it's not set.
Huh.
So they called. The officer was not too happy with me because, well, they were called out there for nothing, and all I could do was say, sorry.
Yeah, well, it happens. Right?
Yeah, but I was just thinking to myself, well, thank goodness they didn't, weren't trying to contact me and just busted in the house.
Oh,
They knew
yeah.
something was going down, and,
Well, it's funny, though, because you're like, I hope the neighbors don't call the police, but then you called the police on yourself, basically. That's hysterical.
Yeah.
That's
They
funny.
didn't think it was hysterical, but
No,
it is
I'm sure.
funny after.
Sure, it's all fun and games if nobody goes
Yes.
to jail, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, this has been really cool. Tell us what's just throw the stuff out that you want people to check out real quick.
Okay, so first and foremost, please check out Odyssey, the newest single instrumental musical journey by Ladi featuring Kena. Please keep that ball rolling because we've been added to some playlists and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
We're getting somewhere, and I'm very happy about that.
Sweet.
Keep an eye on Goisagi. We're recording in July. We'll have a new EP for you soon. My new film, Cry Hard. It's a short. It's dark comedy. It is fun and weird and ridiculous. So if you have a screening coming up you would like to collaborate on, if you're part of the festival circuit, please give me a shout out. And again, I am a freelance writer. I would love to get the word about people's music out there, about people's writing. I love to showcase other people. It's my way of giving back. So please, if you need someone on your crew, if you need a writer, if you need a percussionist who will jump on your opportunity to do some weird, fun drumming, please just give me a call.
Awesome. So, award-winning author, writer, percussionist, whimsical Kena Sosa. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Kena Sosa for being my guest. You can check all her stuff out in the links. Thank you again to the Mullen to Mullen Music Project for their support. We've got a link for them in the show notes. Thank you to the Deep Ellum Community Center for letting us record there. Theme song, The Place to Be by Electric Ants. You can catch the Dallas Famous podcast every Sunday at 1 o'clock on Deep Ellum Radio, and then Wednesday on all the podcast platforms. Please like, subscribe, enjoy, share, all the good things. We'll see you next time.